Clark.
And I'm Rick Entrop.
And we're coming to you from Peggy's house. Yay! This is from the coffee shop. But today you will hear no grinders in the background.
It's from the Peggy house.
From the Peggy's house. And we're recording in my house today. It's 420.
Easter 420.
Happy Easter. It's Easter and it's 420.
Yeah.
2014. And yeah, we're here at my house.
Yeah.
Eating some breakfast sandwiches. And yeah, I just moved into a new place. So I wanted people to come over.
It's a neat place. You'll have to post some pictures.
That's a cute house.
Well, my mom keeps like, I don't want to see pictures.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've taken a couple, but they're like an empty room or a room full of boxes. Like they're not.
That's what you're supposed
Show
to
her
do.
pictures of like the dirty sink.
Totally.
And the bathroom garbage can.
You're like, look at the new house, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to like put pictures on the walls and stuff first, and then take here's the house. Because
That's right. You don't have any pictures up yet.
Because I told my nephew, who is my new roommate, that I would wait and we would make a plan for all the art.
Aren't you considerate?
I am so considerate because he has some stuff he wants to put up. I have a lot of art and I don't want to like put a bunch of holes in the walls, putting stuff up and then move it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to make a plan for where, and like we have like 3 or 4 things that are Lord of the Rings themed. And so we talked about like making a Lord of the Rings nook.
Yeah.
There's some stuff
Is
going on.
Is there going to be a Pokemon wall?
There probably will be.
Hey, speaking of Pokemon, there was the anime convention yesterday at downtown.
That makes some things that I saw make sense.
Yeah.
There are always those moments where I'm in Capitol Hill and I see something and I'm like, something must be happening today.
Yeah.
And then later,
we're like, who's that? Who's that?
Because I saw some people dressed as superhero
Any
types.
Cosplay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, one day it was like a year ago. It was guy in full pirate regalia, head to toe, like jaunty pirate hat with a big feather. The the waist length cape, the scabbard, the leather pants, and like tall
the lace
boots
everywhere.
Oh yeah, puffy sleeves. Full on head to toe.
He wasn't here for
pirate regalia.
Wasn't Seafair?
Captain Morgan.
It was more. The Seafair guys are like scallywag pirates.
Yeah.
This was like a grand pirate, like almost like a Sir Walter or who's the famous pirate?
Captain Morgan.
Scott. The guy who wooed the queen. Anyway, he's like a famous. Not a pirate. Well, maybe a pirate. Anyway, he's like it was more like that.
Blackbeard.
Yeah. Yes. Blackbeard. No. But he was just walking down the street, and I was like, "What's up with that guy?" And like nobody even knows. Everyone just ignored him.
There was a guy like that in Thailand.
Yeah.
He jingled when he walked.
Awesome.
He was all shiny gold and had pointy curled shoes. And he was like one of the people he was a white guy too.
Weird.
And his hair was all done up in a bow in the back, and
did everyone just ignore him?
He wanted to have pictures taken with him for money, and who he was, I had no idea.
Weird.
But he
so he wasn't truly he was passionate about making money.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you guys seen An Idiot Abroad?
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's for the listeners. It's Ricky Gervais's show, but it's his friend who, if you've seen Derek, you'll recognize the main guy because he's one in the crowd of the Ricky Gervais crowd, and he's their idiot friend who Ricky thinks would be hilarious to send him to exotic places because he's like culturally inept and will make an ass out of himself. Go ahead.
He has never been outside of England, so he's not used to seeing other
and he's
cultures.
really rigid.
Yes,
but I was watching the one where he goes to India and he goes to the religious festival where they've got all the babas out, like the gurus, and he goes like tent to tent, going like, all right, what's your thing?
Stretching his dong. It's like.
And he's like, how is that spiritual?
Broomstick, and he's like wrapping it around his shoulders.
And then he was hanging all upside down. And then there was a guy with his hand.
The guy who
he
he had his hand up in the air for
so
like
hilarious.
30 years.
Yeah.
because apparently he let his hand wither and die, and by like not using it, like he caused atrophy in his hand. And the guy who's going around, I forget his name. It's like Greg or no Kurt, because the one where he goes to, or Carl, because the one where he goes to China, there's like a full scene where he's trying to get the person to say his name, and the guy's like he's like Carl. He's like, Carl, and it goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Where Carl?
Carl. Sorry, it's so funny to me. But the India one, like, it's the people where he's like, I don't get how holding your hand up in the air for 30 years. How is that spiritual? And the guy's like, well, I don't need my hand. And he's just like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And basically he just goes tent to tent going like, I don't get why this is, like, I don't see why this makes you a spirit. Like, not telling it to the person, but after the fact. Like, I don't get why, like, one guy obviously has, like, elephantitis of the face. Yeah. And it's horrific to see. Yeah, and he's talking to the guy. He's like, so why is this something... like what's up with this? And the guy was like, well, you know, we worship cows, like cows are deities, and so or no, the elephant is one of their gods. I was mixing two stories together. But the elephant is one of their gods, and so I remind people of that thing, and I bring these, and he just was like just staring at the guy, because I mean his half his face is like down to his waist, just elephantitis out. So anyway, it made me think of the guy having his picture taken with, because you know the one guy doing, like, everyone's nude, and they're doing like wacky yoga poses.
Oh my god!
Like one of them was really funny because he's doing this squat, and then the camera shows, and you see just like his twig and berries sticking out the back.
Oh no, it's like a bulldog walking away or something.
Sneaking out.
Did he twist his twig across? Yeah.
That just makes me
he took like Rick was saying, he took like a broom handle, wrapped his wiener around it, and then just like twisted up his dong.
But pushed down on it too.
Like he's like, look, I can stretch my wiener out, and it's like, wow,
like a surgical tubing or some kind of, you know, where he's bungee jumping.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Yeah. And really interesting.
Do we have any broomstick handles?
I honestly. Watching it though, I don't believe it didn't come across as authentic to me though. It seems like he's sort of acting like he's in on the joke too.
He's a character. Okay, I'm sure. Don't you think?
That's what I mean. It's like you can tell that he's acting kind of.
Yeah, almost like a Mr. Bean.
A little bit.
Thing.
Yeah. Like you know. I don't know.
Is this on Hulu or?
It is, or Netflix. It's on Netflix.
Oh, great!
An Idiot Abroad.
I have an announcement to make. I'm getting back cable and internet, so I'll be catching up on pop culture. So I won't be going pinwheels in the eyes.
No.
You guys start bringing.
Well, we watched it from Netflix. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, it's.
But I wish it was a little more authentic though, like that. You know, it's like, why do you gotta? Make it written.
Some parts of it, I feel, and I think I felt less like he wasn't being authentic than you, but but more just like he has such a.
It's entertaining. For sure. For sure, it's entertaining.
Point of view, like the scenes where there are certain scenes where he's sitting in the room with Ricky Gervais and Thomas. I forget what Thomas's last name is.
The Wallace and Gromit character.
Yeah, totally. These two.
Is that the skinny guy, the really tall skinny guy?
With the blonde hair.
It was his manager in Extras.
Yes. And they're sitting in the room talking about the trip, and they're talking to Carl and saying stuff like, well, you know, you're going to go see the Great Wall of China. Mm-hmm. And then he'll riff on his point of view about, and his point of view is foreign stuff is stupid. And so, and he's so good at it to me that, I think I just accept that that's his comedic point of view.
Right.
And enjoy, because I'm kind of that point of view sometimes.
I smell the ham, though.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put it that way.
Yeah, and that's fair. But, I enjoy just, because when he sees the Great Wall, he's just like, this was made, it's the freeway in the UK goes on for miles and miles. This is just like a freeway lifted off the ground. He's so and goes to the Taj Mahal, and he's just kind of he's so unimpressed by these things that are so grand.
And then to me, I would have been like, especially the one in Jordan.
Totally. And like,
the Taj Mahal is like, it's like this really grand building, but like all around is like trash.
And that's his thing, and he like, you should watch it. You'll enjoy it.
It is one of those neat shows that they have where you see a little slice of culture versus this personality of the guy interacting with it.
Half comedy, half travel show,
half history.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And he does some stuff which I like he goes to in the China episode. I got halfway through the Israel episode last night, or the Jordan one. But like in the China episode, he goes to like a Chinese mystic and he gives him some tasks. He's like, well, we have this tradition where you write your sins and you put one on a mountain and you put one in the sea and I forget what the third one was. And so he kind of like, he's like, okay, I'll do that. And like, he kind of tries to participate in some stuff. And it's so funny. And then he's always just kind of like people, like whoever's with him is like, so what do you think about the Taj Mahal? Like, do you feel it like uplifted by it? And he's like, not really. He's so just like not impressed by anything.
What was the one where they were throwing a bunch of like powdered color on him?
That was the festival that they
that was Holly.
I've never seen that festival before, but it looks pretty fun.
Cool. Were they throwing powder?
Yeah, it's like
they throw powder at it.
Sounds like
colored.
It's a spring festival, or their version of spring, because they have wet and dry seasons.
Right.
But it's actually, there's a movie called Outsourced. It's not the TV show they made out of the movie, but the movie, which is the TV show is not good, but the movie Outsourced is very good, I think. Like really funny cultural clash comedy. Did you see it? No, it's really good. But it's a guy who goes to India to open up an outsourcing facility, and he's like trying to bridge the cultures and trying to teach the Indian people how to act like Americans on the phone. And they have a really good scene where he doesn't know it's that holiday, and
he's trying to go for that lowest, I don't know, or the race to the bottom where you're trying to get the lowest labor cost, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of trying to exploit that.
Okay. And so then he ends up, and it's his experience going to India. It's a really fun, cute, romantic comedy. But the scene where he's in India on that holiday, which is called Holi Day. It's like HOLI Day, which is funny to me because it's holiday, but it's holiday. Anyway, that scene in that movie is really, really funny because there are all these kids that are kind of tormenting him in the neighborhood, and he's just like walking to work and they're like peering around corners and you're like, what's going on? And then they come out and just like annihilate him with color.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really funny.
He's probably wearing a white shirt.
Like going to work, white shirt, tie, and then they're just like, yeah, it's really, really cute.
There was something similar to that, I think, to the Mexico one in The Idiot Abroad.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that one yet.
Is it the Day of the Dead or something?
Nice.
Or?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Because there's 2 seasons of it. I think we got through the first one, and I think we might have seen a few of them on demand.
I haven't seen the second one.
There are only 2 seasons? 2 seasons?
So far, I don't know if they've done any more.
It's freaking funny.
I like that about the British.
I think it's hilarious.
Endless seasons that
British
show.
I heard a rumor, and I don't know if this is true or not, that Ricky Gervais has said, I will never do any show for longer than 2 seasons. And like someone told me that, and I was like, why? And the person said, well, he thinks that shows go on too long, and he wants to go. Funny, this is this show.
In Extras, he kind of addressed that a little bit.
Really?
Because his Pat show, or what was that show? The show within the show. Yeah, the guy that, are you having a laugh? That one. Yeah. Because there was because he got on the show.
Extras.
But anyway, but that show of his went for like 8 episodes or 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
And within the show, they moved it along.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, totally. I see what you're saying.
And it just got stale and old. You know, but that's a neat thing that he might have been trying to show is that shows go too long.
Maybe totally. Well, and that's true. And also, I wish like Extras. I would have watched Extras for 10 years.
Put a little spoiler alert there if you watch Extras.
Oh yeah, that he actually gets.
Well, that was part of the conflict was him trying to get the show.
Yeah, totally. I love Extras.
Well, it was also the fact that he had this vision of a show, and it ended up being not his show.
I like episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen episodes.
Episodes rocks. Oh, episodes is so good. Yeah, we caught up on the third episode, on the third season too.
Third season of episodes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Third
it's
episode
so funny.
Episodes.
Cool. I'm totally gonna watch it. I've been wanting to, but it's one of those that's like I'm kind of trying to give it some time so that when I watch it,
it's sort of like Extras a little bit. It has that flavor of it a little bit. But
where he's kind of playing like Joey with Matt.
Well, what they do to someone else's show, and then writers within that show, so sort of like a show about making a show too. So
totally.
I've heard that theme over and over again. People in Hollywood who are unfunny try to make a funny show.
Yeah, totally.
But Extras. What made me endear Extras so much though was the celebrity. Let's just do a weird ass character as a celebrity. I love that. Was That's a neat thing.
It's almost amazing that it wasn't done a million.
Yeah, I wish they would have incorporated that into the Joey show though. It's like let's keep that flavor, but just put it in a different show. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Because there's a little bit of. Have you seen that Will and Grace with Kevin Bacon in it?
Probably, I've seen
he
every
plays like Grace. This really creepy dude. I don't know. That's what sort of turned me on to the whole thing.
Or like when on Just Shoot Me, Ray Liotta plays himself.
Yeah.
But it's as though Ray Liotta has a weird Santa fetish.
Oh, right on.
And he starts dating.
Bingo, exactly.
And then takes her to his house, and it's like full of Santa Clauses.
Yes.
And he wears those really loud sweaters.
So much.
Me too. Because you kind of want to know, like, well, I wonder if that person's a weirdo.
Yeah. But they're in the limelight, so it's like they've got enough kind of weight to really make it funny. Because it's like
totally.
Because nobody wants to be in the limelight and look, sad. I guess, or like a loser, or like they're not.
I kind of do.
Do you? Well, you want to be a famous loser?
Yeah.
Well, I wish you luck.
They get made it so far.
I don't know that I'd want to be famous for being a loser, though.
Yeah, like what is it? A good example of that would be like the guy who married Britney Spears.
Oh.
I think of him as being a famous
K-Fed.
K-Fed, yeah, Kevin Federline, that's right. I was like, I was trying to think of his name, but there's a character in the Cleveland show who makes fun of him, who I think his name is Federline.
Like his first name. Kato Kalin?
He's kind of a famous loser.
Yeah, sorry, not to. With the Simpson, he got famous because of the Simpson program.
Have I talked about this on the podcast? I don't remember the 30 for 30 about O.J. Simpson.
What's 30 for 30?
No. Okay, 30 for 30 is a documentary series put out by ESPN. I think the 30s in it refer to 30 documentaries for 30 years of ESPN, but don't quote me on that.
Something like that, though.
But they're shorter documentaries that they picked like a whole bunch of really well-known documentarians, and then said, "Hey, do a sports theme on whatever subject." And so they span, because I'm not that into sports, but like I watched about 5 of them, and they were really good.
Yeah, they're compelling.
Totally.
What was the skater one where she?
The Tanya Harding one was the one that got me into it. It is amazing because it shows you all the things we all think were true about the story that aren't true. When I watched it, I thought I knew the story, and then I was like, oh, half the stuff that I think is like real.
It's that thing where you say things whisper into one person's ear, whisper into the other person's ear, whisper into the other.
Totally.
Anyway, sorry.
It's really good, and they interview Tanya Harding. Nancy Kerrigan it's all archival footage, but Tanya modern talks about it.
Yeah, I heard. I didn't see it, but I heard that she basically did not do herself any
myself. I hated her more before watching it, and after, she doesn't really make herself look like this great person, but I had more empathy for her.
Okay.
Because really she had a horrible life.
Wrestling for a little while.
Yeah, boxing, and they totally get into how she got into boxing, and it's really interesting. You should totally watch it.
Yeah, she's a celebrity. Who'd she box?
She boxed China from...
Oh, right.
Yeah, from wrestling.
She got her ass whooped.
WWE? Yeah, she did get her ass whooped, and she talks about it in there, and it's interesting.
Wow.
You should totally watch it.
Okay.
But the other one I watched is about O.J. Simpson. Excuse me. And it was specifically the day, it has, the title of it is a date. It's like May 18th, 1994 or something like that. Yeah. And it was the day that OJ took off in his...
Oh, the white
the
chase that was televised chase. That everybody was glued to their TVs for.
Yep. And all they did was cut together different news coverages of it, things people were saying in the news. Also, there were like 3 major championship sports events going on. Like one was a basketball championship, one was like a tennis open or something like that. Yeah. And it was like, so you kind of had these like 3 stories going, and it was like all this news footage. Yeah. It was awesome. And like the newscasters tell you like all the stuff about the OJ stuff leading up to that. Yeah. And then like just being alive during that time, you kind of remember how it plays out. Sure. But like it's really gripping. Like and it's probably like 45 minutes long.
I remember
it's excellent.
What I was doing that day when I watched that on.
Oh, the verdict or that car chase?
The car chase. I was. That's all that was on TV was that car chase, and I was actually at Sears,
watching it on 900 television.
No, I should have been. I was in the waiting room, getting tires put on my car. So I was waiting for them to service my car. I was like sitting there. This is boring. Why did this?
Well, and they kept cutting like these really funny things where it was like this basketball championship, and then like one of them was Bob Costas, like a super young Bob Costas. And he's like, I just want to let the audience know we have a professional responsibility to continue covering this game, so we're not cutting away to the OJ chase. But like basically he was like giving the play-by-play of the chase while you're watching. Yeah. He's like, we have a contract with the NBA, and he's like,
so he's giving all these excuses why they can't show it.
Yeah, because every other channel but NBC had cut away to like full-time coverage of it. It was really good.
But they were like doing like 30 miles an hour. Yeah. And it wasn't even a chase, it was a pursuit.
Well, and they had all these phone calls with the friend who was in the car who was like, OJ was going to kill himself. And he was like, you know, we think, like, I'm talking to him. I think I'm going to get him. Like, and he had a gun. Like, the story was wild. Like, it's really, that's what I'm saying is, like, I was like, oh, OJ.
And this was one of the documentaries from the 30-30?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That just shows you all this different stuff. It's really, really good. I would say, like, and they had a little interview with the director at the beginning, and he was like, talking about, he's like, I'm trying kind of a new style of experiential documentaries. So instead of interviewing a bunch of people, it's just presenting like actual archival footage so that you feel like you're going through the experience in real time with all these different, you know what I mean? It was really, I was like, oh, okay.
That's kind of cool.
It was really artistic, you know? Like you could tell he had tried to build this like,
it's almost like
actual experience
war footage.
Yeah.
Well, and cool. The job of an editor though really is to tell the story, or to you know, it's almost like making music, I guess, where you're building tension and releasing and kind of, you know,
totally
choreographing a period of time.
So instead of hearing someone say this is how it felt to watch all this stuff on TV and like go through this, you actually are watching it and going through it. So I was like, he called it something. He was like, it's like narrative documentary or something. Like he just kind of put a word to it. And I was like, I like that. I want to find more stuff by that director because it was really well done.
Nice.
But anyway, and that was my 1990s day because I watched both the Tonya Harding and the OJ. And then I felt like, I was like, man, I feel about 13 right now.
As if.
And
the nostalgia.
Exactly. And recently, speaking of the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, I started watching A Different World from the beginning on Hulu, which is the spin-off of The Cosby Show.
Yeah, but so Lisa Bonet was in it.
Denise goes to college.
Yeah. But she was only in it for like one season.
Yep, and then she left, and Jasmine Guy stays as Whitley as the main character instead.
Right. And then they had, what's his name with the
Wayne.
Yeah.
Kadeem Hardison.
Yeah.
So I've been watching a lot of that lately and discovering maybe, because that was my jam. Like I was the perfect age to, like, it started in 87, which I was maybe 10.
Well, I've heard you mention this. You're the Saved by the Bell class.
I totally am.
But I've heard you say this before too. It's whatever popular show was on when you're in junior high.
Yeah, totally. And that's the one you identify with.
Yeah, so I'd be probably Cosby.
Yeah.
The Cosby Show.
The Cosby decade.
And Cosby to me is like,
and that was huge. When it was just like everybody's watching Cosby Show.
Oh, totally. But then A Different World was the spinoff, and I mentioned it to you, and you're like, huh? And I mentioned it to our sister Debbie, and she also was like, I don't remember that show.
I do.
Okay, but like I remember and rewatching it, the episodes. I remember the episodes. I'm like, oh, I know this one.
It was on the air for a little while with the Cosby Show.
Usually on right after.
Totally.
Yeah. That's when like Arrested Development came out, the band.
Oh yeah.
I'd say a little later than that.
A little later.
It was 87 was the first year.
Oh, okay.
They mentioned it quite a few times in the first season that it's 1987. And Marissa Tomei plays the comedic white girl sidekick. They never identify her as Latino in this. At least the first season, she's never. Her boyfriends are all white. She's the token white person, which I find interesting because now she's like. I mean, fast forward 8 years and she's like very conspicuously Latina.
Is she Latina?
Marissa Tomei. Yeah, I think.
I thought she was Italian for some reason.
Oh, you know what? Maybe she is Italian.
Well, still Latin.
Yeah.
My cousin Vinny, she really kind of brings out like a New Yorkie sort of.
Maybe that is Italian. I was thinking of it as Puerto Rican, but I think I'm mixing her and
Jennifer Lopez,
Rosie Perez together in my mind. Yeah, you're totally right.
Those are two different.
I know, but I was mixing them in my mind. But my cousin and Vinny
together.
Yeah, no, totally.
Whenever you say Rosie Perez, I always think of White Man Can't Jump.
I know, that's great.
Yeah.
Sticking out.
Untamed Heart.
That's a great movie. But her character in My Cousin Vinny is very Rosie Perez, don't you think?
I think so.
It's almost like her doing a Rosie
like a
Perez
Fran Drescher
impression. Yeah, I like Fran Drescher too.
Yeah,
but there's that sort of to them, you know.
Yeah, totally.
It's a very Brooklyn.
I know, me too.
It's a Brooklyn accent.
If you go back and watch The Nanny from the TV show The Nanny, I'm not joking, from beginning to end, it is the craziest show.
Yeah.
Barbara Streisand makes several cameos. People like huge stars in the 90s. Like I think it stopped in like 96. Are making cameos in this horrible show. It's fascinating. Like really watching it. Like I watched it maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
I just her voice and I'm out.
It is so interesting to watch, and like I really got into it. Like it became almost authentically funny to me because it was so ludicrous. Like every part about it where she's just like twiddling around in these ridiculous clothes. There's no plot, and then like Barbara Streisand walks through the door and it just makes no sense at all. It's awesome.
See,
everybody should watch it.
I tried watching it, but with Charles I can't
what is his name?
Shaughnessy?
Shaughnessy, yeah, totally.
I couldn't watch him because I was so used to seeing him on my soap opera.
On Days of Our Lives, totally.
So I'm like, no, I don't want to see him play like this.
I know. And he's ridiculous. Like it's comical 90s rich people where they still had like marble staircases and fur coats
just
and
kind of
jewels.
Who's the Boss rework, right?
Big hair.
You have to flip a few things around.
Sorta, yeah, only on like a super rich scale.
Yeah.
Because that was like, it's interesting though
sort of
because
Who's the Boss meets.
It's more like Silver Spoons. Or Who's the Boss meets Silver Spoons.
Yeah.
Because it's like super, super rich Broadway producer, and then...
Or Different Strokes, that was the one I was trying to
Different Strokes. I do like Different Strokes. Anyway, so I've watched a lot of stuff from the 90s recently, was my whole point.
Cool.
But The Nanny is interesting.
I really don't remember watching much television in the 90s. I was too busy.
Yes.
It was my 20s.
Music.
Yeah.
I was at the club.
Were you what, Casa 89?
89, yeah. They're harassing me right now on Facebook to RSVP for the banquet for the graduation coming up. I'm like,
What do you mean?
Is that 25 years
like
coming up?
Alumni banquet coming up.
Yeah, is it 25-year anniversary? 25?
They do now what they call, it's like smaller schools do what they do an all-class reunion. Basically, everybody who graduated since last year goes to this reunion.
Every year?
Every year. And
so how do you pick one? That would drive me crazy.
Easy, I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't go. It's most of these people I didn't really hang out with in high school anyway, and I'm like, you don't even really remember me, even though we only had 56 people who went to school there.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Well, they should do like
in my class, because
I could see doing like a 4-year cluster. Because I actually, there are a few people that like. At my class reunion, I was like, oh, there were a whole bunch of people a year younger and a year older that I'd really like to see.
Absolutely.
But like, just an all year, every year, that would.
This year it's the 50th. Weird. They go 50 years. They go from 1964 to 2014, and right now they're honoring the 1964 class, and they go 25 years. It's my class is in 1989, so we're hosting. This reunion banquet or whatever, alumni banquet, and it's just like, and they asked me if I want to do a slideshow, and I went no, because it's just for one, I don't have a computer, and I just no, I don't want to do it. I'm not. I didn't want. That was the kind of like the running theme in my class anyway. It's like, this is effort. I don't want to put any effort into where I didn't want to be anyway. I mean, I don't mind going there, but I mean. If I was to go there and just kind of like, these people are old and everybody's graduating, that's cool. Yeah, that's about it.
Nice. I had fun at my last reunion. We had a joke for the next reunion that we were gonna do like a cruise.
Oh, cool.
Because there were a whole bunch of us that were like, this would be funner if we weren't in the Tri-Cities. Right?
Wow.
And so we're like, maybe for our 20, we should just like all take a cruise together.
See, that would be really cool.
Hang out on the cruise ship for 3 days with, you know, because we did have a lot of fun. But it also, it so comes down to, I think, there were 3 events. One was at a bar the night before. One was in the park in the middle of the day the next day. And then the last one was the actual reunion at the hotel. And it was like singles and couples without kids at the bar. All the married people didn't go to the bar the night before, the married with kids. They went to the park the day after. All the people who had been at the thing the night before were hungover and didn't go to the park the day after. And then we all met at the dinner. And it was kind of like, oh, I didn't know you were here. And then that person is like, oh, well, we went to the picnic. And I'm like, oh, I went to the bar.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we should have like a people with kids, people without kids. Because it ended up just naturally selecting to that, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like...
Well, you have a little more in common then, too.
Exactly. Yeah. Because all the people who went to the kids' picnic thing, I was like, oh, yeah. Well, there were a few that I was like, oh, I wish I would have seen that person.
10-year reunion, that's...
But...
The kids are super young too. A lot of
we do have a couple who have teenagers because they had kids either the summer we graduated or the next fall.
I got
like my friend John has a 16-year-old. Yeesh, that's crazy.
What? Like their grandparents, because they were knocked up like
as teenagers and then
junior year.
Yeah, that's wild.
So now their kids are having kids. I'm like, wow.
I remember being in high school and seeing girls that were pregnant.
Yeah, mathematically, what, 38, you could be a grandma, right? 40?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there?
No.
Mathematically, I'm just saying.
You know what, though? That actually doesn't really bother me. If I was to have a kid at that age and I'm a grandparent now, I'd be like, yeah, cool, because I'm young.
Right.
I'm young enough to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's your kid, not my kid. Take them home.
Yeah.
Right.
If I was going to choose, because I do not intend on having children. But if I was going to have kids and I had to pick having a kid at 17 or at 35, I'd pick 17.
Yeah.
Because I have friends who've done both. And my friends who had kids at 17, they're still really young. And they were super poor in their 20s while they had kids and were struggling really hard. Then their kids are a little older and now they've kind of gotten their roots down and having a job. And now, like my friend John, he's 35 and his kids are almost out of the house. And now he's making really good money, and he's like, I'm young. I'm going to have an awesome next decade because I'm still really young, have done the kids thing, and have an okay bank account going. And to me, that sounds really good.
But then another thing is, like me, there's no way I could have kids when I was younger. I hated kids. I didn't want to have them when I was younger.
That's sort of my
And when I'm older now, I have more patience with kids that I'm like, I would be the opposite because I think they would have been messed up if I had
Right, yeah. I think I'd rather have me as a dad at 40 than as a dad at 20. No, holy cow. Give me a choice, I pick dad at 40.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no. If I was the kid and I was choosing a parent, I would do the opposite as well. But as a parent and choosing kid, I'd rather be like because there's like the when you play, like play in your 20s or play in your 30s. And being a person who has played in my 20s and is now playing in my 30s, playing in your 30s is way better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So to me, I'm like, well, the 20s, everyone was just screwing their lives up when they were like out, doing fun stuff and traveling, and they didn't have any money.
Unless they had kids.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though, is like as an adult, if I was going to choose one of those two things, I would choose have kids young and struggle, and then be open when you're still relatively young versus starting your babies when you're my age, like some of my friends are. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, your kids are going to be graduating high school when like you're almost 50.
You're going to be collecting Social Security.
Older than 50 even. Because what?
Well, you're rolling the dice a little more along the lines of, way back in the earlier days, I guess, when they would have kids to ensure their being taken care of in their older years. So it's like, in some sense, having kids when you're, in your early 20s makes sense that way, because there's more of a chance that your kids are going to be able to,
take care of you
later on in life. And you just have because the longer they're around, the more likely they are to, be successful and be able to help out.
But my younger brother, he started having kids when he was 18. His oldest is now 20. And still lives at home. And
well, that's the thing now, is people are staying home way longer.
But his oldest daughter is exactly like him, a homebody. She doesn't want to do anything. Her boyfriend, they all live in the same house. But he has 3 other ones. The youngest one just turned 10. So
see, that I think is the worst of all worlds. Is the big spread in age.
Yeah.
Where you then end up having kids for 4 decades.
Oh, no. You got to get it all done.
You got to cluster it.
Yeah. You can't spread that stuff out, man. So once you've done it once.
Oops, baby, ruins everything.
Yeah. Well, they were all
They were
all oopses, but he's got 20, 17, 11, and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an expensive spread.
The 17-year-old, as soon as she's able, she's out. She's flying the coop. That's my favorite one right there. Her name's Taylor.
Nice.
And she's going to be a tattoo artist. She's already apprenticing with piercings. Like anybody want to get their nose pierced, eyebrow pierced, ear pierced, nipple pierced, anything pierced, she can do it right now.
But the flip side of that too, though, is I feel I could also adopt a teenager and probably be okay. Like financially, as long as I could support them. I'm still wiser as a parent the older that I get too. So it's like, give me a 15-year-old, give me a 2-year-old. I'm going to approach it a lot differently than I did would have if I was 20.
You ever hear that joke? That joke where somebody says, I'm going to adopt a teenage Chinese girl. You ever hear that one?
No.
If I adopt, you never heard that? It's like you said, you would adopt a teenager or could adopt. A teenager.
I mean. Okay, I'm just saying that.
No, but that's that joke. I've heard it. It's like, I'm gonna adopt, but she's gonna be 17 and Asian.
Oh, so that you can molest your adopted child.
Well, actually, when we were living in Thailand, we actually ran into an Australian couple that actually adopted a teenage Chinese daughter. It wasn't a legal adoption. They just basically helped her go through school. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, totally.
Why don't you just marry them at that point, though? Or make them part of your. Don't try to be dad, but because if women were getting married at 12 and 13 way back in the whatever days, whenever they could bleed or whatever, not to be gross, but whenever they got, I guess guys were marrying younger then too, but
well, that's the thing. I mean,
I guess there's got to be a age, because if it was 12 and that was the norm, then you'd be talking earlier. I'm not saying. I'm just saying where the social norm is. I'm not saying
totally.
Where my personal preference is, or where it should be, or whatever. But
totally, it's interesting. But I think definitely as if I was a kid and wanting to choose parents, I would have been a disastrous parent at any age. But especially when because I'm mean and I have no patience, and I'm totally. I would be grumpy mom Peg. Like totally be the mom from Malcolm in the Middle.
I think Absolutely. If you adopted, for sure. But if you had a child...
No, I think...
I don't know.
I would totally be the mom from Malcolm in the Middle. The one who's her hair's all crazy and she is just screaming at the kids. That would so be me. I identify so much.
I want to watch... If I'm going to revisit it...
oh my gosh.
Because I would watch an episode every now and then. And that's one of those shows where you could do that.
It's a good show.
But I haven't really watched one after the other.
You should. It's on Netflix. Streaming.
Oh, cool.
I actually watched it beginning to end a couple of years ago. While I was doing other stuff, I would just put it on. Yeah. It's
my favorite.
Especially being a
I have
Bryan
two
Cranston
favorite.
fan, it's worth it.
Episodes. The one where he's trying to fatten up his wife.
Yeah.
And he's pouring syrup in her orange juice because he's in the junk in the trunk action.
Yep, totally.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then the other one is the Baby Olympics.
Yep. Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
My favorite is the one where it goes backward in time.
And they do one of those like Seinfeld did?
Nice. Where the beginning is one breaking the other one's arm. And then they go, it's I'm getting back at you for that thing you did. And then they show the thing the other one did. And it goes backward until the very first instigator is one stealing a blueberry off the other one's plate. And so it's
nice.
They escalate from you stole my blueberry to one breaking the other one's arm.
Dominoes all standing up.
Yeah. Each event escalated to the next level. Yeah.
Man, I love that show. Wow. The character development too, when you go from beginning to end, is so good.
No one Cranston.
Because he starts out being a quirky guy, but then the show really just delves into how totally weird that dude is.
Usually pantless in that show.
Oh yeah, he walks around in his underwear, and he's a roller disco aficionado, and does some really great scenes where he is full unitard and skates dancing, Right, it's really, really enjoyable.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, I'm a big I call him the cranny.
The cranny.
You're
cranberry. Sorry.
That makes you a cranny. You're in the cranny army.
Totally. Yeah. I love him so hard. He's awesome. Everything he does is sunshine to me. He's just such a cool person.
We were watching an improv show that he was on too, where
That's what made me like him.
Where he played a Mick Jagger kind of character at one point.
Yeah, it was a really short-lived show.
It was on NBC.
It had Joe McHale on it too.
And my favorite was where they all were superheroes, and he played a gay superhero right then and there. I'm like, I love you.
It was only on for 3 episodes.
And it was a great premise.
It was all improvisers who set these scenes, and it was full costume. But then
it was just a race to get sexual.
Oh, totally.
I mean, it's okay, who can make this about sex first?
All joke, totally. No, I liked it though. Anyway, I like improv. But I watched it because at first I was like, I don't know about that, and then I was like, Bryan Cranston? Right. Tell me more. I love him. Anyway, one thing that we wanted to talk about today is that we're going to go on break from the podcast. Yay! We've been going every week for almost a year. This is episode 46.
Wow.
I believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
so 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52.
That's
so
a
6
lot.
weeks away from a year.
When I listen to podcasts, I'm thinking, and then people they talk about their episodes and how long they've been doing it. I'm like, God, it doesn't really sound like it's that long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you do one a week.
But when you're doing it, doing it, it's
Totally.
different than actually listening to them. It's just weird. It seems like it doesn't take up any of my time when because I'm doing other things.
Right.
But when we're sitting here doing it, it's time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And so but it's been enjoyable. It's been really fun.
Totally.
Yeah, thanks for hanging in there with us, listeners.
Yes, we have appreciated it. And it's one of those things where we started this hey, let's do a podcast. I don't really know what, but let's just do something because I want to do it. And then we did it, and now it's wow, we've gotten all this time under our belt and experience of how to put it together. And so we're hoping to go on a break and reform something with a little more focus and better sound. And
your focus needs more focus.
It's true.
Yeah.
So we're looking back at the year going like, how can we make this better? And so we're going to take a break for a few weeks and try to come back with a new and improved, more, whatever you call it.
I'll have a more regular schedule too.
Yeah.
So
more podcast to your
more
podcast.
Rick. 50% more Rick.
Much bigger Rick. Everybody wants, all guys wants a bigger Rick.
Yeah, we should do an episode about that one of these days. Just the dick phenomenon.
Yeah, we have done quite a bit of time discussing dicks.
Sure, but not the Richard short for crossover.
That's true, and the weirdness of people who go by Dick and like the Dick butt kisses and Dick hairs of the world.
I don't care what the names. I guess there's John Thomas and Peter and those that are there's so we're not an exclusive name for but there's another layer to it because it means asshole as well. You're being a dick.
True.
I mean, and now, so it's like a double whammy, really, for us Richards.
For y'all Richards.
Yeah. My stepdad his name was Richard.
And did he go by Richard?
Yeah, he went by Richard, and my grandfather would call him Pritchard.
Pritchard.
Ooh,
weird.
Yeah, I don't know why one would put a P in there.
Because he was being a prick.
Okay.
Pritchard.
That's
interesting. Yeah. My grandfather
but there's no female names for the women's thing. There's no like patty cake or kind of I don't know what.
Flow.
Well, that's a function.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, we'll save it for the next cast.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
No.
But like a
Sybil.
Sybil?
Yeah.
I've never heard.
You never heard of Sybil? The multi-personality?
Yeah. For a coochie?
Yeah, but not for a coochie.
No, maybe.
And you'd have to have a coochie and bitch all in one female name.
Speaking of that, my wife just learned what
a
pussy
Yeah, it's true.
I mean,
and we don't really have, unless there was like Cuntalinga.
Well, but okay, yeah, you are. I guess
a name that was
in the same vein where I see if there were a female name for it, then if you were being that, then you would call them that too. If you were being a C word, then it would associate, I think, naturally. So I think one would, because it'd be like calling someone an asshole.
Well, it's like gay guys that call each other Mary. Like that's a little bit of a slam. Like sometimes it's done in that like when you call women will call each other bitches in like a sweet way, like y'all my bitches.
Yeah.
But gay guys will call each other Marys.
You're my Marys?
Like we're all a bunch of Marys. It means like queenie, bitchy, gays. Yeah. Totally.
Mary.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure, Mary. Right.
Yeah. So it's like but that's.
Is it a Lord of the Rings thing?
No. Yes, it is a Lord of the Rings. But which I always love. Like I love when my gay friends call each other Mary because it's funny to me. Like I don't know. Maybe women just don't have that kind of like if we're gonna tease each other, maybe we just have a different style. You know what I mean?
But I always heard silly little faggot.
Yeah.
Is it sort of like a group of guys gets together? It's like, all right, ladies, let's get going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
totally.
All right.
It's just like a sweet slam, like a little bit of a like a nudge and a wink, but also a little bit of a diss.
Right.
Okay. So. Yeah, I don't know.
Gay boys are good at that.
This is true. Yeah. They have sharpened bitchiness down to a fine edge.
Right.
They hone it.
Yeah, totally.
The jabs cut deep.
Anyway, thanks for hanging in with us for the last 9 or 10, 11 months, however long, 10 and a half months.
Yeah.
And we will be back soon. It'll be us, but maybe with some spice added in.
Yeah.
For whatever we're gonna come up with to do the next year.
Augmented.
Yeah, we're gonna try to answer the question, what is this podcast about?
Yes. That's a good question to answer.
Right.
If you know what this podcast is about,
please tell us, because then we can go from there.
Almost a year. You will save us some time because we like to talk.
Yeah.
And we're gonna pick something a little more focused.
Maybe digression. That's what this podcast is about.
We could call it like
derailed.
Derailed, totally. Anyway. thank you. Happy Easter. Happy 420.
Indeed.
And
good luck finding those Easter eggs.
Right. Remember where you put them, right? Or no, spoiler alert. Awesome. There is an Easter bunny. Yeah. Hopefully the Easter bunny remembers where he put that.
Like, oh wow! Today's Easter. Oh wow! Yeah. There's so many colors.
It's so great. Let's eat them. Totally. And we will see you in a few weeks.
Yay!
Yeah, thank you. Huzzah!